What is up, everybody? It's late. It's a little later than we normally go live. It's 2:30. I'm sorry. I'm busy moving. Had some last minute packing to do. Still moving across town, but we're here. We'll hang out for a bit and see who shows up and go over some practice questions. I don't see anybody's on right now, and that's okay. Testing our chat here. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitch. We should be live on LinkedIn. Maybe I should. I see a few people have jumped on. Let's go. Thank you for being here on this somewhat dreary December Friday. Or is it Sunday? Saturday, whatever day it is. Saturday. It's Slay Security Plus, so it must be Saturday. Let's go. There's my crew. Niye says, I was studying my Professor Messer exams. Then I saw Slay Security Live pop up. That's right. We are live. Live. Yo, Tech Ricky. What's up, my man? Hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing well out there. For some, this time of year brings some seasonal depression and some anxieties. We get close to the holidays. I don't blame you. You're not alone. I am not doing Advent of Cyber this year. Got way too much going on with work and life. There's just no way to do it. I set a recurring calendar entry so I wouldn't miss this. Simply ADHD things. Same here. Attila, I am well. Ooh, got the exam set for December 30th. Let's go. You will pass. Participate in today's study session and let's see where you're at. Gotta know your bandwidth. That's right. Yeah, I started to unload. I have a moving truck full of stuff and I had the tailgate open and I thought, I don't know what time I thought it was, but I look and are we going to go live? Like, oh man, we are going live. So moving truck door is still open. My basement doors are wide open. I said, we're going to go stream. We promised last week that we're going to do some live security plus questions, and by gall, we're here. We don't mess around. All right, team. I think that this might be our class. We'll let some people trickle in and we'll get started on some questions. Is everybody ready to get started? I've got my water here. My phone here. What time is it? Okay. Let's pay the bills before we go back. Before we go into questions, let's get that out of the way. Slay Security Plus is sponsored by simplycyber.io. So if you're trying to level up your career, break into cybersecurity, or just help build your community and your network, stop by simplycyber.io. Check out this little teaser, and then we will get back to some questions.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included Bug Bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Boom! Thank you, Dr. Jerry Ozier, for your time, your mentorship, your friendship, and then sponsoring Slate Security Plus. Tech Ricky, I think, is talking about seasonal oppression and in the holidays causing some anxiety. He says, I know the feeling, brother. I've been dealing with bad thoughts myself. If you ever need to chat, just holler at me day or night. Tech Ricky, that extends to you as well. And anybody else in the Slay Security Plus community, if you need someone to vent to, reach out to Tech Ricky or myself or each other, and we'll build each other up and we'll get through this season. All right, let's get into some questions. This is coming out of lesson 10, assess endpoint security capabilities. I think most people in our study group today have a pretty good idea of what the Security Plus test is like. And so you won't go too much into that. There's a couple of videos on the stream, and there's lots of other videos available on YouTube to talk about the exam. And so we're just going to read the questions so that you, if you're preparing for the exam, you can really get used to seeing kind of what these questions ask of you, what to expect from these questions. I think these CompTIA practice ones do a pretty darn good job of simulating the real thing. And then we'll conclude today's study session by looking over the Professor Messer stuff if you haven't looked at those yet. They're not quite as interactive, but I think that the questions that they provide, the format, the difficulty, are really close to the real deal. Sleepy Queen says, I have a cybersecurity analyst interview on Monday for an incredible local company, plus life insurance isn't my thing. Thank you for the advice, Jesse. Sleepy Queen, you are very welcome. I hope you crushed that interview. Talk about, just be yourself. Talk about what you've learned, what you've been doing in your home labs, your CTFs, how you can talk about kind of if they ask you current events, tell them that you watch the daily cyber threat brief every weekday, just part of the CISO series that Dr. Jerry Ozier puts on. Talk about the current events and maybe how you would defend against them. More than anything, be yourself. Show that you're teachable. You're there to learn. You're there to provide a service as a team player. I think you're going to do awesome. Keep us posted. All right, let's answer some questions. Which security feature in the Linux kernel supports access control security policies, including mandatory access controls? And as we read these questions and you see an acronym, just take note of it. You're going to see a lot of repeats. A, group policy. B, SE Linux. C, application allow lists. Or D, configuration drift. This is a tough one. As much as I like to dabble with Linux, wasn't ready to start off hot like this. Which security feature in the Linux kernel supports access control security policies, including mandatory access controls? And remember, in mandatory access controls, you don't get to change, they're set per the object. Arthur Zamora says SE Linux. Diana Rodriguez says B. Tech Ricky and Attila B say C, application allow lists. Let's see. When I think of group policy, I think of more Windows-based systems. We know it's not configuration drift. It's between SE Linux and application allow lists. So in chat, we're tied. We have three Bs and two Cs. I believe it is B, but Jesse, as Jesse always says, we are here to learn. That's right, including myself. Sleepy Queen says C, so now we're tied. Well, you got to figure you got about a minute per question when you go to take the actual test live. And so Tech Ricky says, absolutely, I did not mean to seem rude. My apologies. No apologies needed. I don't think anybody, at least I didn't think you were being rude at all. We learn from each other every one of these sessions. All right, let's send it. SC Linux. Correcto mundo. SE Linux is a security feature of the Linux kernel that supports access control security policies, including mandatory access controls. It allows granular permission control over every process and system object, strictly limiting the resource a process can access and what operations it can perform. Group policy is a feature of the Microsoft Windows operating system and provides centralized management and configuration of applications and user settings. Application allow lists, on the other hand, are endpoint configurations defining applications the system cannot or can run, and they are not directly related to SE Linux. And finally, configuration drift is not correct. Configuration drift refers to malware exploiting an undocumented configuration change and reapplying the baseline configuration to prevent such changes. It is not a security feature. It is not a security feature of the Linux kernel like SE Linux. Moving on. A large financial corporation wants to incorporate a sandbox in its network. What is the purpose of using a sandbox in endpoint security? A, to isolate and contain all malicious files or processes. B, to restrict internet access on endpoint devices. C, to enforce strong password policies for user accounts. Or D, to manage group policies and access control lists. What is the purpose of sandbox testing or sandboxes or using a sandbox in endpoint security? Chat's filling up pretty quick with A. To manage group policies and access control lists, we know that's not correct. To enforce strong password policies for user accounts, I don't think that's it. So we know it's going to be between A and B. I also believe that it's A. Send it. Correctamundo. Using a sandbox in endpoint security isolates and contains potentially malicious files or processes. It is in a controlled environment where the system can execute suspicious or untrusted applications separately from the rest of the system, allowing security analysts to observe and analyze the behavior. I use a sandbox, I don't want to say every day, but I have a couple different sandboxes that we use at work to analyze emails, links in attachments, executables. On my day-to-day, though, I use sandboxing mostly to analyze phishing links and to analyze attachments that come with phishing emails. Restricting internet access on endpoint devices is not the primary purpose of using a sandbox. While restricting internet access can be a security measure, it is not directly related to sandboxing. And then enforcing strong password policies for user accounts is important for security, but it is not the purpose of using a sandbox. And finally, managing group policies and access control lists is essential for access control, but it is not the purpose of using a sandbox. Here's some acronyms to learn. An organization has a significant amount of mobile devices that it manages. Which mobile device deployment model gives the organization the most control over the device, thereby improving security? A, BYOD, or bring your own device. CYOD, which I'm not sure what that is. C, COBO. I think that's company owned. We'll have to look at those acronyms. And then C, COPE. I just remember what these are. Sleepy Queen says, I love hearing the life experiences in the field. It's extremely helpful. Cybersecurity and IT years are like dog years. 1 year of working in IT or cybersecurity is like 7 regular years of another job. Duh. Choose your own advice. D, corporate owned, personally enabled. Thank you. What's Kobo? Is that corporation owned? What is Kobo? DJ BSEC in the house. What is up, my man? A CISSP holder and an all-around awesome person. Wow, Jesse's alive. I am alive. I just don't have a life on Monday through Friday. I do. It just consists of getting up early, driving to work, driving back home from work, making dinner, putting the kids to bed, and then in the nighttime I do a little bit of studying, but I also do contract work. And so I usually put an hour or two in of contract work to make a little bit of extra money and contribute to the cybersecurity content creation scene behind the curtain, under the radar. Anyways, people are saying company owned, business operated. People see C. B, choose your own device. Hey, Brandon Maverick, welcome to the party. What does everybody think? B, choose your own device. BSEC, what do you think? Which mobile device management device deployment model gives the organization the most control over the device? Is it A, bring your own device, B, CYOD, or choose your own device? Is it C, Kobo, or is it D, COPE, corporate owned, personally enabled? BSEC says it has to be C. Are you just saying that to throw us off? I'm going to go with C and see what happens. See what I did there? Excellent work, BSEC. Corporate owned, business only. So it's not like a mullet at all. You know, some of these I feel like are kind of like a mullet, like business in the front, party in the back. You know what I'm saying? All right. But corporate owned, business only grants the organization ownership of the device, allowing its use solely for company purposes, providing the most control and improved security. There we go. We know that BYOD is bring your own device in, and that obviously increases the risk due to the mix of personal and professional data. Choose your own device offers the organization a list of devices for employees to choose from, providing some control but not as strict as Kobo. And then in a corporate-owned, personally enabled model, the organization supplies the devices to employees. However, they can use it for personal purposes, which provides less security than Kobo due to allowing personal use. And I'm out. See you later, BSAC. Good to have you. What is the primary purpose of the cybersecurity approach of user behavior analytics or user and entity behavior analytics? Is it A, to automatically block or mitigate threats on individual hosts? Is it B, to establish a baseline profile for users' physical locations? Is it C, to monitor and analyze users' behavior to detect potential threats? Or is it D, to investigate, detect, and respond to advanced endpoint threats? Well, just saying I come in and drop knowledge and run. It's like a hit and run. To monitor, Midori K says it's to monitor and analyze users' behavior to detect potential threats. Diana says it's B, to establish a baseline profile for users' physical locations. Attila and DJ BSEC are both saying C. Diana is going to switch her mind, which is probably something you can do on the exam until you submit the sucker, so there's nothing wrong with that. What is the purpose of the cybersecurity? To automatically block or mitigate threats on the individual hosts? No. To establish a baseline for users' physical locations? No. To monitor and analyze users' behavior to detect potential threats? That sounds very, very appealing. Or to detect, investigate, and respond to advanced endpoint threats? No. Arthur Zamora says B, to establish a baseline profile for users' physical locations. I think this has more to do with how they are conducting themselves digitally within their environment, and to get a baseline of that. I'm going to send it on C and see what happens. Another mic drop. Yuba with an E monitors and analyzes the behavior of users within an organization, detecting anomalies indicative of potential threats. It leverages machine learning, data science, and statistical analysis, and establishing, a baseline profile for users and entities. It continuously monitors new behavior against the established baseline, detecting unusual or suspicious activities. Boom. A critical infrastructure organization responsible for managing energy distribution across a large region relies heavily on industrial control systems, ICS, and supervisory control and data acquisition systems, or SCADA, to monitor and control the power grid. Given the critical nature of the operations, the IT team has implemented a control to safeguard these systems. Which control did the IT team use to protect its ICS and SCADA systems? A, regular system updates. B, network segmentation. C, secure boot mechanisms. Or D, transport encryption protocols. So you've got SCADA. Given the critical nature of the operations, so SCADA and ICS power grid, the IT team has implemented a control to safeguard these systems. Which control did the IT team use to protect ICS and SCADA systems? This one to me screams network segmentation, but let's go through the answers. Regular system updates, which are important, but those aren't going to really safeguard the systems from threat actors. Yeah, I mean, it'll help protect against threat actors from maybe using exploits that are in the wild if they're not being properly patched. There's always a way to hack a system, right? Secure boot mechanisms are great because then you know that the system is booting up in a secure manner, a secure state. What happens after that? Transport encryption protocols. Those are important, but those are only going to protect the data when it's being transported or in transit. You know, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that too. FYI, SCADA and ICS aren't really getting updates. No. Aren't those like systems like that are updatable? Wouldn't that be a whole configuration management and change, update management and change management process? Not just regular system updates going on willy-nilly. Often old, insecure, and unfixable. Gotta keep them separated. Like the latest fashion. Like spreading. Sorry, I read that and it did cue the song for me in my head. Offspring, off of their second album, I believe. All right, let's send it network segmentation. Yep. Network segmentation isolates industrial control systems, supervisory control, and data acquisition systems from the wider network, protecting them by limiting access and defending them against inbound attacks. Again, regular updates are important. The hardening strategy includes secure mechanisms in clearing the system boots with authenticated and trusted code. However, this is not unique to ICS or SCADA. And then implementing transport encryption protocols like TLS and Secure Shell at the network level helps protect ICS SCADA systems, but they are not unique controls exclusive to these systems. Give it to me, baby. It's another good one. A medium-sized company has entrusted its IT administrator with the crucial responsibility of improving network security. Well, that's your first mistake. Just kidding. The company's network contains sensitive financial data, proprietary software, and employee records. Since the IT admin's task is implementing access control lists, or ACLs, what is the primary objective for using them in computer systems and networks? A, to enforce mandatory access controls on Linux systems. B, to establish standardized configuration baselines for devices. C, to regulate and manage permissions for resource access and actions. Or D, to provide centralized management and configuration of operating systems in Active Directory. BSEC says, I've built in a snowball fight for my AOC, or Advent of Cyber Streams, going live with it tonight. Built in a snowball fight? Let's go. What time are you going live, BSEC? Since the IT administrator's task is implementing access controls, what is the primary objective? Well, we know that we talked about SE Linux has those access control lists. But we don't know if they're using just Linux, just Windows. Maybe it's Unix based. We don't know if it's a single type of shop. And so I'm going to take out both of these. This one is speaking to only Linux systems. And the question, we got to take what the question is giving us, right? It doesn't necessarily mention one specific operating system. Same thing with the Active Directory, which is proprietary to Windows. Exactly, Midori K. They never told you or implied what OS you're dealing with. Agreed. Since the questions talks about financial data, critical software, employee records, Attila saying B or C. I'm sorry. Attila says C. See, access control lists don't really apply to establishing standardized configuration baselines. DJB Sec. Oh, I see this question. I see what you did there. To regulate and manage permissions for resource accesses and actions. I like it. Let's go with it. Let's go. Access control lists regulate and manage permissions for users, software, systems, and network to access resource or perform specific actions. They specify which users or groups can or cannot have access to resources and define permitted or prohibited actions. DJ Bisek wrote a novel here in the comments, so let's take a minute and read that. You can implement standardization and say that all specific ACs must be in place on all standardized firewalls, but just adding ACL doesn't mean it's standardization. Agreed. So yes, access control lists at different levels, but also remember that we can set access control lists in a firewall to determine which systems have network access, not just necessarily the resources or systems or permissions for users. So those access control lists really kind of, I think BSEC would agree, they exist really just in our world, both at the operating system level, at the file permission level, and then I always see it at the perimeter or at the firewall level as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Halfway done, team. A large manufacturing company relies heavily on industrial control systems, ICS, to operate its production lines. The company has a range of devices, including programmable logic controllers or PLCs, and human-machine interfaces spread across the factory floor. Due to recent concerns about potential cyber threats, management wants to improve the security of these devices. How would the cybersecurity manager convince senior management of the primary objective of implementing physical device port hardening? A, it encrypts data on USB drives. B, it enables automatic network connections. C, it restricts access to physical interfaces. Or D, it blocks incoming and outgoing network traffic. Let's go, Mike Oz or Mike OZ. at Slay Security Plus, thank you for your videos. They were of great help to me when I was preparing for Security Plus exams, which I passed last month on the first attempt. God bless. Let's go. Congratulations, Mike Oz. You did the hard work. I'm super stoked to hear that we as a community and this live stream that we try and do every week was able to be helpful in some capacity. That's the whole point. Whether it's just kind of getting a feel for the questions, maybe building some community, maybe going through the answers out loud in a safe environment. Whatever you get out of that, that makes me so freaking happy. That's awesome. Awesome. Good for you. I'll drink to that. Okay, so this is an interesting question, right? It's not something that we necessarily see every day in the cyber world, CTFs or just in podcasts or whatever, but we're looking at an industrial control system, some kind of manufacturing plant, right? And they have a heavy range of devices, including PLCs and human-machine interfaces. We need to talk to senior management, and they want to know, well, what's the objective? All right, Jess, you want to implement this physical device port hardening, which is going to slow down the employees from creating more widgets, and then we're not going to meet our Q3 numbers. Convince me, cybersecurity manager, why we should harden our physical ports. Well, sir, because you brought up in this meeting that there is a concern for cyber attacks, whether it's somebody picking up a thumb drive in the parking lot and plugging it into our systems. If we restrict access to physical interfaces, we can then, better protect our environment. And that's what the primary objective. I think so. I believe that sounds right. It restricts access to physical interfaces. It's not because it encrypts data on the USB drives. It enables automatic network connections, which could be potentially dangerous. It blocks incoming and outgoing network traffic. Well, we're talking about physical device port hardening. Doesn't necessarily say anything about blocking. So I'm going with C as well. I like it. Let's see what this survey says. Physical device port hardening aims to restrict access to physical interfaces on a device such as the USB, high-definition multimedia interface, serial ports. It reduces potential avenues of physical attack and prevents unauthorized data transfer, malicious software installation, or direct system access. So all of the things that we just said. In all actuality, HMIs and PLCs should. Yes, I agree. Yes, they should be. I think what you're saying here is that they should block incoming and outgoing network traffic. It should be air-gapped in an isolated environment to where the only way to get something in is to have an inside threat actor or somebody who can either an inside threat actor or a Carl. And no offense to you if your name is Carl out there, or a Carl who works for you and says, oh, look at this thumb drive. I'm going to pop it in. Yep. It was a USB device. So yeah, check out the Natan's story on Stuxnet. Killer story. Great way to boost your cybersecurity knowledge. Fun history lesson. And then the answers that were not correct. Encryption of data on USB drives constitutes a separate security measure, not linked to physical device port hardening, correct? Wireless devices disable automatic network connections, preventing them from using potentially insecure or rogue networks. Host-based firewalls and IPSs, or intrusion prevention systems, relate to blocking incoming and outgoing network traffic, not physical device port hardening. I agree. An organization's cybersecurity analyst is currently assessing various web filtering technologies for implementation. What is one of the key benefits of web filtering in cybersecurity operations? A. Blocking encrypted HTTPS to prevent malicious activities. B. Monitoring web activity to identify potential policy violations. C. Allowing access to inappropriate or non-work related content for employee satisfaction. D. Preventing malware infections and phishing attacks from malicious websites. What is one of the key benefits of web filtering? It allows access to inappropriate or non-work related content for employee satisfaction. Yeah, it does. That's awesome. No, that's not the correct answer, but it's funny. CompTIA trying to be funny. Blocking encrypted traffic to prevent malicious activities. Well, we want our web traffic to be encrypted. Doesn't make any sense. I'm comfortable eliminating C. Yeah, me too. Go with the big D. Thank you, BSEC. I will go with the big D. Enjoy that very much. Thank you. Midori K coming in hot saying, needed to slow down and read that question more thoroughly. I'm telling you, just reading the question thoroughly, maybe a couple times, is more than half the battle. So there's a key word here, right? This should kind of give away this answer. What is one of the key benefits to web filtering, right? B says monitoring web activity to identify potential policy violations. When I think of filtering, I don't think of monitoring, right? When I think of filtering, I think it prevents some things from coming through or going out, and it allows other communications to, go through or come out, right? And so I lean towards D, the big D myself, as DJ BSEC so eloquently put it. Yep, break the question down into chunks. Figure out, sometimes with these questions, the first 3/4 of it is just fluff. It's like telling you a security analyst works for a large multinational corporation, blah, 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 blah. And then it's in the last sentence or last sentence and a half that's the money shot, right? I'm going to go with D, send it. The key benefit of web filtering is the prevention of malware, including ransomware and phishing attacks, which often originate from malicious websites. By restricting access to these sites, web filters significantly reduce the risk of malware infections. Dan Reardon, aka the Haircut Fish, welcome to Slay Security Plus. Good to have you. We got a little bit of a late start today. My apologies. How's the new gig? Dan Reardon. Wait, this question is a difficult one? You're difficult. Thank you, Sleepy Queen. Web filtering typically focuses on specific URLs, IP addresses, content categories, and keywords. Blocking all encrypted traffic would be overly restrictive and negatively impact legitimate activities. Yes, that's what we're saying. While web filtering solutions can perform detailed logging and reporting of web activity, they focus on preventing malware and phishing attacks, not just monitoring policy violations, right? So that's what we're talking about, that monitoring versus this prevention part. And then the final one, C, allowing, right? We've got this filter that allows for people to do non-work related things. Well, this statement contradicts the purpose of web filtering, which blocks users from accessing malicious or inappropriate websites rather than allowing access to such content. I recently was testing some URL filtering in the wild at my place of employment because I was looking through some of our I don't know if I say firewall logs, but just looking at some of the network traffic, doing some network monitoring, and I was noticing a lot of people going to social media and Facebook. Now, we do have a very small social media team, so they need access to that. And then we have, so I work in healthcare, and so we do have people that use the public, unfortunately, we have public PCs. I know, trust me, they're a nightmare to secure. But people use public PCs to communicate with loved ones via Facebook and other social media. But I just put a block on all of it, and then I didn't get in trouble necessarily, but my boss was like, hey, I need you to loosen it up just a little bit because the marketing team is having a hard time making posts. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just block everything except for these subnets, right? Or whatever. It was pretty funny. I am still the cybersecurity professional who is relatively new to like the enterprise world, and so I'm very much, I want to tighten everything down, and I'm learning from the people that have, the network engineer who's been there for a million years, that when you overly restrict, then it can cause your CEO to not be able to do his job, which then doesn't look good for a cyber guy. But that's the way you learn, right? And sometimes when you come into an enterprise or an organization that has a lot of legacy systems or a lot of bad habits that have been put into place, and all you're trying to do is bring up the security to a compliance standard, to a baseline, sometimes you have to break some eggs a little bit. You've got to, unfortunately, people don't like that, right? Especially the folks that had admin privileges throughout the environment when they shouldn't have, and they just log in, right? So sometimes when you go to change that, you get some kickback. But then I don't need to remind my boss because he's awesome, but he's like, hey, don't worry, you're doing the right thing. This is what we hired. This is one of the reasons we hired you. Network engineers are the coolest people. I love my network engineer. He's seen it. He's seen it all. Which intrusion detection method involves the analysis engine trained to recognize baseline normal traffic and generates an incident when it detects deviations from its baseline? A, signature-based detection. B, behavioral and anomaly-based detection. C, trend analysis. Or D, network traffic analysis. Well, let's start off by reading the question one more time. Which intrusion detection method involves the analysis engine trained to recognize baseline normal traffic and generate an incident when it detects deviations from this baseline? We can take A, signature-based detection, off right away. Network traffic analysis, which is important, doesn't really solve what the question is asking. And then I think you all are hitting this one on the head with seeing that we have behavioral and anomaly based, right? What is an anomaly? Well, it's something that stands out from a normal, right? Or a baseline. So I like that. Trend analysis could, you're looking at different trends, but it doesn't really solve that in the way the question is asking us. So recognize something from the normal and then generate an incident when it sees something that deviates from this baseline. I'm going to go with B. I see how trend analysis could be in there, but the question says behavioral and anomaly-based detection. Right. I'd go with B. Or I'd go with B. I'd go with B. I would say D, but there's not baseline with it. Agreed. I'll be normal. Ooh, Midori K makes a good point. Is that the question says generates an incident when it detects deviations from this baseline, and then here we have in this answer behavioral and anomaly-based detection. Just something to think about. Sometimes the answers will correlate with the question. A word might pop out. Boom. Let's go. Behavioral and anomaly-based detection involves training the engine to recognize any activity that deviates from this baseline outside of a defined tolerance level to generate an incident. It helps identify zero-day attacks, insider threats, and other malicious activities without a specific signature. Now, signature-based attacks are signature-based detection that relies on attack patterns within what does the answer say? On a database of attack patterns to identify malicious traffic. It is effective against known threats, right? So signatures of attacks, but it's not going to do very well for something new or evolving. I agree. Trend analysis identifies patterns and potential threats over time, adding security strategies and identifying weaknesses. And then network traffic analysis analyzes network streams to detect suspicious activity, focusing on network traffic. Mike and Nim says, "Oh dang, I am late to the party." You're not super late. I got started late today too, but it's all right. I will have to go relatively soon because it gets dark here where I live like at 5 o'clock, and I've got a full U-Haul to unload. Diana says, "I was driving, but now I'm getting a pedicure so I can pay attention." You gotta take care of those feet. An organization uses host-based detection and prevention, HIDS or HIPS, to secure the enterprise. Why would the organization use this type of mitigation technique? A, to monitor and protect individual hosts, like a computer or server, from unauthorized access or malicious activities. B, to contain malware within a single host and facilitate remediation of the host to its original state on endpoint devices. C, to analyze user behavior patterns and detect anomalies indicative of a potential threat. Or D, to extend protection beyond endpoints and incorporate data from various infrastructure components. I love our community. You're just in time. You are here. If you are here, then you are here when you're supposed to be. Somebody in the comments from a couple weeks ago put that I do too much jaw jacking, which I will admit that we sometimes get off on a tangent, but I put it I replied and I said, well, the whole purpose of this is to do it live and to have some interaction as a community with myself as the host and our class, our community that comes to our sessions. There are a whole host of videos where people just walk you through Security Plus questions and there's no interaction whatsoever. If this offends you, going live and interacting with people, then don't watch the video. Don't show up. But I love all of you guys out there, and it makes it helps me stay plugged into the community. I learn stuff from it. Plus, I create a network of friends and connections, people that I now call friends. And so to me, it's a win-win. And if that person watching doesn't like it, well, We're not going to change. We're still going to jaw jack and have fun and answer questions and talk about life. Haircut Fish says, I am thinking either A or C, but thinking about the last question, I'm leaning towards C. DJ B-Sec says, you have friends? I want to be like you. I want to be like you, DJ B-Sec, with our CISSP, spinning records, hosting Advent of Cyber. I feel confident I'll pass based on being here. I think you're going to slay it. You're doing great on these questions. Why would the organization use this type of mitigation technique, so HIDs or HIPs? A, to monitor and protect individual hosts like a computer or server from unauthorized access from malicious activities. B, to contain a malware within a single host and facilitate remediation of its host, its original state on endpoint devices. Nope. To analyze user behavior patterns and detect anomalies indicative of potential threat. D, to extend protection beyond endpoints and incorporate data from various infrastructure components. That's a whole different system. So no. I agree. It is either A or C. I'm leaning towards A myself. Let's see what chat said. Midori K says, studying without the live energy is the same. I agree. I do much better in live study groups. I also love our family, CB Queen. You rock. I'm going with A. I'm just going to send it. Here we go. Yes. Let's go. HIDs or HIPS tools continuously monitor and analyze endpoints using signature-based detection, anomaly detection, and behavior analysis to identify suspicious activities, such as visibility security personnel promptly, with such visibility, security personnel promptly detect and respond to potential security threats and compromises within the enterprise's endpoint devices. You know what's funny is that we selected A and got the correct answer, but I feel like this description for the correct answer is more aligned with C. But here's what they say about C. Analyzing user behavior patterns and detecting anomalies indicative of potential threats is the goal of user behavior analysis or user entity behavior analytics, not HIDs or HIPs. Extending protection beyond endpoints and incorporating data from various infrastructure components is the purpose of XDR, not HIDs or HIPs. Good job, team. What is the purpose of implementing the principle of least privilege in endpoint protection? A, to restrict user access to specific network resources. B, to enforce mandatory security configurations on devices. I agree, Diana. C, on that previous question, C is more UEBA. Back to this question. C, to manage firewall rules across an organization's network. Or D, to grant minimum permissions needed to perform tasks. Basically, what is the purpose of least privilege? Why do we do it? Think about what least privilege is. Yes, Midori, I am leaving to my country, Peru, in 2 of 22. That's awesome. D all day, Haircut Fish says. Nii or Nai, I hope saying that right. It's either Nii or Nai, I believe. Let me know if I'm close. Least privilege is the least amount of rights a user needs to perform their job duties. Yep, D all day. Haircut Fish says. That's awesome. You get to see your mom and loved ones. I'm a crier. I'm a sucker for stuff like this. It always gets me in the feels. I love that. Good for you. I agree. We know it's D. To manage firewall rules across an organization's network, nope. To enforce mandatory security configurations on devices, nope. To restrict user access to specific network resources, yes, but that's if it didn't have D, then I would maybe say that one. But D basically spells out what this principle of least privilege is. It's to grant minimum permissions needed to perform their tasks. That's another thing that I've been going through at work in the field is turning off a lot of features, a lot of permissions for people that have been there a lot longer than me, and utilizing more of a least privilege within our organization. Some folks love it. They're like, cool, we've needed this. Some of the people that have been like the database managers and stuff that have been doing it for a long, long time, they don't like it as much, but it is what it is. Nii, yes. I thought we had this conversation and I thought I had been saying it right, but then I second guessed myself, which awesome. I've been saying it right. Cool. Sleepy Queen says, I really needed this today after studying for life insurance, which is extremely boring. Well, we're glad that you're here. That's awesome. You're an empath as well, Diana. Yeah. I don't mind. Correct. We'll fly through this one because we kind of principle of least privilege, right? It just means that you get the minimum necessary permissions required to perform their specific duties and tasks. Oh, Tech Ricky, we just started getting into file permissions. We're getting ready to do some work on our. We're making some migrations to some cloud, some SaaS services. And in order to do that, we got to get some things to some security baselines, and I'm doing some auditing. File permissions, oh my gosh. Inherited permissions, turning off inheritance and so much of this stuff. You got to be careful, man. Active Directory will get you every time. A cybersecurity team for a technology company specializes in developing mobile applications for various industries. The team is working on a new app that utilizes location services to provide users with real-time updates on nearby events and activities. The app's success depends on its ability to provide accurate and relevant information based on the user's current location. However, the project stakeholders have expressed concerns about certain aspects of location services. What is the primary concern surrounding location services and mobile devices? Wow, that's a long question. A, battery consumption, B, lack of accuracy, C, privacy, or D, limited availability. Every time you hear SaaS, you think sassy. Yeah, I think sassy when you don't pay the bill. Then they get sassy and cut off them services. So remember that we look at this question, we see A, battery consumption, B, lack of accuracy, privacy, or limited availability. Whenever it comes, we're looking at something, especially in our world and on the Security Plus, we need to look at it from a security or a a security standpoint, right? The CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now we see a limited availability here, but this question is saying, what is the concerns around location services? To me, as a person who keeps location services turned off 99.9% on my devices, I'm relatively accessible, on LinkedIn or whatever. But as far as my phone, I have my location turned off. I think my computer's location is turned off on the admin configuration side. I only use my user credentials, even on my own workstation. So everything I do on my own workstation, requires my, two different accounts. Even with my own home workstation, I try and keep those separate. Battery consumption, that doesn't concern me. Yes, is having location services on, that might consume more battery, but from a cybersecurity standpoint, I don't care about battery consumption. Lack of accuracy, that's something that the developers are going to have to work on. My issue would be privacy. I agree 1,000%. Privacy, privacy, privacy. Let's send it. Yep. Navigation and mapping uses location services, but it also raises privacy concerns. For example, location services can monitor movements, which may lead to stalking, social manipulation, and identity theft. And all of those that we talked about are exactly what I said. How the other ones, would be a pain in the butt and could cause for a app that doesn't function as well as it could or whatever, but that's not our concern. Our concern here is in this privacy area. Sleepy Queen says, I have failed 3 times. I think subconsciously I'm not letting myself pass it. Normally I do not have an issue with studying. I failed a test, a cybersecurity test, a hands-on test. It's a hacking test called the PNPT, Practical Network Penetration Tester. I failed it twice. That's part of learning. And even though it costs money to take things again, and sometimes we have to budget and save and go through the time and the energy of studying, and then just the fact of failing something feels really crummy inside. As cybersecurity and IT professionals, failing things is something you have to get used to, because sometimes something you'll implement, an idea you have, systems that you're working with, they just crash, they fail. Things don't work out the way they're planned all the time. And so I commend you for being here. I think it's awesome that you're continuing to study and you're going to crush this test. You're absolutely going to slay it. I don't like failing. When I was in college, I was the guy that was known for passing tests because I led live study sessions in school, criminal justice. Those are my favorite things, was to get people together and do in-person study sessions, and people in my groups typically passed. But when I would fail a test or not do well, it felt awful. And so you got this. Right? Keep showing up, keep putting in the work, find things that work for you to remember the questions. If you need some better practice questions, reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you get some of the Professor Messer stuff or something like that. But you got this. And that's not just being hyperbole or saying, you got this, like toxic positivity. No, truthfully, you got this. Keep showing up, keep putting your best foot forward, and things are going to work out for you. Yeah. And that's probably part of it, Sleepy Queen, is, and I think maybe I thought you meant a cybersecurity test, but it looks like you're probably talking about life insurance. I remember in school, I had to take geology 3 times in college because I failed, because it didn't apply to me. And when something doesn't motivate me or apply to me, I have a really hard time putting my best foot forward. It might be a curse. It might have prevented me from doing better in college in some capacity. But if it doesn't apply to me and doesn't motivate me and get me ticking, I'm not going to study for it very well. All right, we're almost done. A small company recently installed an intrusion detection system, or IDS. What is the purpose of the analysis engine in the IDS? A, to capture network traffic. B, to interpret and scan captured traffic for suspicious activity. C, to generate incident reports for security analysts, or D, to update the signatures and rules for attack patterns? Sleepy Queen says, I love this field. Plus, Jesse, you are so inspirational. Thank you. I'm inspired by you all, truly. Dr. Jerry Ozier, Tech Ricky, Dan Reardon, you guys in chat, gals showing up to study sessions. You all inspire me. So definitely goes both ways. B. So an IDS to capture network traffic, NAR, to interpret and scan captured traffic for suspicious activity. That looks good. To generate an incident report, to generate incident reports for security analysts. No. It may contribute to that process by sending information to a SIM, right? D, to update the signatures for rules and attack patterns. No. IDS, the analysis engine of the IDS. Here is a keyword the question is asking us, and it has this word analysis. There is only one possible answer that has a word in its answer set that deals with this idea of analyze, right? When we analyze something, we look over it, we try to make sense of it, we interpret that, right? And so capturing network traffic has nothing to do with the analysis part. To generate an incident report, generating incident reports for security analysts to go back and analyze, that's important. But the purpose of the IDS analysis engine, which is specifically what they're asking us about, is not just to generate the incident report. To update the signature and rules for attack patterns, that doesn't quite jive as well, right? So Attila says it too, this word interpret, that to me kind of goes along the lines of analysis. That's part of the analysis process, is interpreting information, making sense of it. To interpret and scan captured traffic for suspicious activity. I'm going with B. Let's send it. Boom. An IDS's analysis engine scans and interprets captured traffic to identify suspicious activity, classify events, and generate incident reports. Which cybersecurity approach monitors and analyzes the behavior of users, here we go again, within an organization indicative of potential threats, such as insider threats, compromised accounts, or fraud? Is that EDR is that A, endpoint detection and response? Is it B, host-based intrusion detection prevention? Is it C, XDR or extended detection and response? Or is it D, user behavior analytics or / user and entity behavior analytics? Which cybersecurity approach monitors and analyzes the behavior of users? Well, we know it's not EDR. We know it's not HIPS. We know it's not XDR. And what does D say in the answer? It says it straight up, right? It says that user behavior part. Everybody's smashing that one in chat. Smashing that D. D, I just learned this in threat hunting class. Let's go. For my study, I have been slowly studying CISSP concepts every day, but I'm also getting nitty-gritty, doing hands-on stuff. I'm working through the TCM Practical Security Analyst certification, which is all hands-on, phishing, so real blue team heavy. And then working through CISSP. I'll probably take that next year. That's not on the very forefront of my radar right now. Right now, blue and red team, hands-on, nitty-gritty ones and zeros, and then working through GRC. I just finished a massive compliance. It was like this big of a binder, and it was just full of questions. And I had to go to each department and ask them a series of questions around user behavior analysis baselines. People were like, is this really cybersecurity? Like, this seems boring. I'm like, I love it because I think GRC is fun. But it was not ones and zeros. It was very much buying people donuts and then sitting down and talking them with a clipboard and a binder. I loved it. It was great. That was for you, BSEC. All right. Boom. UEBA detects anomalies that could indicate potential threats, such as insider threats, compromised accounts, or fraudulent activities. It leverages machine learning and statistical analysis to establish a baseline profile for users and entities, and then continuously compares new behavior against the baseline. Take it now, Jesse. You can do it. I do want that CISSP. Let's go, team. 100%. 100%. We didn't spend a lot of time on each question, truly. I mean, we kind of jaw-jacked a little bit. But that was killer. Great job, fam. Great job. See where we're at overall. So overall, as a team, oh, wait a minute. Oops, my bad, team. We were supposed to take off from Explain Cryptographic Solutions. It looks like on our last session, so not last week, but the week before that, we only got through 76.2%. We'll do that one next week. Or maybe it was the site resiliency. Either way, we're doing really well. As a team, we're all slaying it. We've got a few wrong here and there. We definitely have some areas to work on, especially in the PBQs. So maybe I'll break things up and do a little bit more of those. The PBQs here, the performance-based questions in the CompTIA Cert Master are definitely a little bit more wordy, but the format of them, what to expect on test day, is very similar, if not almost identical. And so it's a good way for us to see those hands-on. All right, team. Without GRC, crap doesn't get done. Tend to agree. Cybersecurity risk analyst here. It's all about the communication to senior management. Yep. Because my boss, is the director kind of overall of IT infrastructure, security, he understands what I'm saying, but a lot of times he'll be like, all right, I need you to dress nicer than you usually do to work because I'm sending you into a board meeting. You're going to the directors. The CEO is going to be there. The CFO is going to be there. They need to understand why this next upcoming year you want to spend $40,000 on this tool or product. GRC Mafia in the house. Let's go. BSEC says CISSP at the end of your name would look good. Come on. Be part of the club. I want to. FedEx says, oh, wait, I thought it was 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It normally is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may bump that up just to give myself a little bit more time in the afternoon, but I think we do it the later time. Every time we go a little bit later, we have just a little bit better interaction and we have more people in class. And I'm not sure why it is that 1 hour make a difference or half an hour, but it worked out today. So you were late, but I was late too, and we crushed it. Sleepy Queen says, great job, everyone. I agree, great job. I want to say it's awesome when I see people put in a different answer, whether it's the right or wrong answer. The fact that we have people in class that are willing to say, you know what, I don't know if it's everybody else says, I think it's this one. The whole just following what everybody else puts just for the sake of it, you're not going to learn anything. There's nothing wrong with being incorrect on these questions. It's happened to us all the time. Sometimes it just is what it is, right? You see a bunch of A flying up on the screen. Well, it is A. It's pretty straightforward. But I commend you if you've gotten some wrong today or in these last sessions. Put in the wrong answer if you're not correct, right? Like, or if you're not sure. Put in the answer that you think it might be, even if it's different from what everybody else has. I have to head out, Jesse. Have a great night. Haircut Fish, you as well. Congrats on the new gig, by the way. DJ BSEC says, you must have buy-in to the program, otherwise it falls on deaf ears. Yep. That's what I'm trying to do is create buy-in. Come in swinging. I came in swinging really hard, made people mad, and then I had to pull back and go, wait a minute. Joseph Cadden, Casually Joseph, made a great point because I was really frustrated. I was really frustrated because I wanted to implement all these things the next day, like completely change your Active Directory structure, isolate or air gap these legacy systems, because let's just face it, in every enterprise, unless you're a multi-billion-dollar company, and even then, there's probably going to be some legacy systems, legacy applications. I was really frustrated. And Joseph said, dude, Rome wasn't built in a day. I talked to Dr. Jerry Ozier, and I was explaining some of my frustrations as a new security analyst, specialist, engineer, whatever. And he said, take a step back, get yourself GRC focused, present a roadmap that is actionable, and I don't want to say fun, but present something that the company can get buy-in that's actionable. And I completely revamped how I was approaching my day-to-day and took a much bigger picture. Hey, these are things that I think we can really tackle within the next 30 days, 90 days. This might take us a year. And here at the 2-3 year mark, this is where we need to be. And when I took that approach to leadership on paper, and it was well thought out, they're like, cool, we have a roadmap to compliance. Let's go. Let's do this, and we're going to empower you to do it. And so I agree with that sentiment. You get the buy-in. Diana says, Jesse, are we still going to be at around 3 Central? What is that, 2 Mountain? Yes, that's the plan for next week. It may be 2:30. I'm still moving. I have one last trip to do next week. My family's going to help me. But just like today, I had to move, but it was really important to me that we got to stream together. And so I will be here, barring an injury or something crazy. I will be here next week, and we're going to shoot for 2 o'clock, maybe 2:15, 2:20 Mountain Time. So 3:20, 3:30 at the latest. But we will be here next week. We're not missing out. Next week, I might miss it because I graduate from cybersecurity bootcamp. Let's go. This Thursday is the 19th, and my graduation party is the 21st. Well, you can still party with us. Just pop yourself a bubbly, throw on Slay Security Plus, say hi, and then go back to jaw jacking and having fun with your friends. Brandon Maverick says, great stream, Jesse. I always look forward to you going live and hanging out with the Slay Security Plus community. Thanks, everyone. That's what I'm talking about. Comments like this right here. It's a community-driven effort, 1,000%. Thank you for showing up, Brandon Maverick. It's great to hang. Mike and Nim says, Slay Security Plus helped me pass a month ago, so I show up to support. You do. You've showed up consistently when you can, even though you've already passed. And that's another beautiful thing about this is we have people in our community who already have their CISSP, who have already passed Security Plus, and they're just here to provide support, mentorship, build community, hang out, whatever. It's freaking awesome. Remember, Jesse, when it comes to GPOs, always test it on a test OU with a test user. I know. Yep. So a lot of the GPOs that I'm doing will actually just do it within the IT department because they're okay with being the test subject, which has worked. BSEC, Jesse, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Hit the big things, don't worry about the small things, and look what gives you the best ROI, return on investment. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Niyi has to head to a work event. Slay Security Plus, Jesse, DJ BSEC, everyone, thank you so much. DJ BSEC, you are a resident Security Plus Slayer, that's for sure. When are you going to come on a live stream? Next week, maybe? Diana says, thanks everyone. It's been 10 hard months, but I'm graduating top of my cybersecurity class with no technical background. Is it a little bit harder to get into cyber with no tech background? It is going to require some work, right? It can be done. And so I'm not on the gatekeeper side of things that says, well, if you weren't a 25-year sysadmin, then you can't be in cyber. I'm also not going to pull punches and saying that, like, oh, you can jump in. It's super easy, even if you have no tech background. Just get a few certs and build a LinkedIn profile, and you're going to get hired. Because the truth is, it's not that easy. I know there's a lot of people that are still trying to get that first job in the industry. It's this magical, I don't say magical, but it's this combination of some knowledge, some hands-on skills, some networking, and then really setting yourself apart in different ways, finding those job opportunities that I think are a little bit more attainable. But you can have a non-tech background, and if you're willing to do the work, you can absolutely find yourself a place in cybersecurity. Okay, that does it for me. It's a little bit after 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I got to go move some stuff before the sun starts going down. I got a lot of boxes. Let me get my muscles going. Anyways, my name is Jesse J. You all are Slay Security Plus. You make up the community. I had an awesome time streaming with you. If you have any questions about the stream, find me on LinkedIn, find me on Discord. If there's some resources that I can help you with, some better practice questions, anything like that, please reach out to me. I got to run. Take care of each other. And until next time, as Dr. Jerry says, stay secure.